Hello all. Today I'm going to show a new recipe. This is chicken curry, a very simple chicken curry Indian style. So over here there's not much of spice powders. This we'll do with the minimal ingredients that we have at home. So all you need to buy is chicken, and pretty much if you have some basic Indian spices you can make this. So this pairs very well with rice and also with roti. And here it is kind of a semi-solid. It's in between, a liquidy gravy and a fry. You can always add more water and make it like a liquidy one. But here I like it. I just like this very good consistency because it's very nice to pick up with a piece of roti or mix it up with the rice and eat it. So hope you try this. And as I said, this is like a very, very simple one. So it's easy to make. So this is the ingredients. This is one whole chicken that I've taken over here. It's been, if you see the pieces are cut a little bigger. They're called curry cut. When you ask the butcher, you can ask for curry cut, or if you try to cut it by your own, cut it into big pieces. That really helps the curry. And I have marinated this already with salt and a little turmeric. I feel the salt, this step really helps for the salt to really get into the chicken and add to the flavor. So you can definitely try this out. I did this overnight. Again, you even for an hour or so, it helps. This step is optional. Again, if you don't have time, you need a quick chicken, you can always skip this and directly start using the chicken. But yeah, if you have some time and you're making it in a leisure, I would highly recommend this because this really helps to enhance the flavor. The next thing we have here is what the ingredients I'm going to use. As you see, this is a very simple chicken curry. So it's going to be very, very simple with minimal ingredients. So over here I have onions that I've chopped roughly. They're neither fine, neither long. So it doesn't matter how you do. This is roughly around 2 large onions or 3 small sized onions. So also I need a little bit of the gravy. This is to eat either with a rice or a roti. So I like to add a little more onions. If you don't want, you want it a little bit on the drier side, it's okay to add it a little bit less. The next thing here is the tomatoes. So these are 2 medium sized tomatoes. I've just made a paste out of it. Again, you can finely chop it too. It is not necessary you have to grind it, but I was just lazy, so I just ground it. I feel this more easier than chopping. So it's roughly around 2 tomatoes, what I have here. The next thing I have over here is yogurt. Now what I have done to the yogurt is that I have actually let it to sit out, especially the yogurt we get in US. It's a little bit actually on the sweeter side. It is not sour. Now our curry will come out really well if the sour taste of a yogurt comes out. Yogurt adds both to texture as well as the taste. So what I have done here, I have roughly taken, this is around 4 tablespoons or around a half a cup. I have whisked it and I've allowed it to sit out for an hour or so while I was doing all the preparation. So this steps really helps when you let it thaw out nicely. So this helps a little bit of the sour taste to set in. Then the next thing is the ginger garlic paste. This is home ground ginger garlic paste. This is roughly around either 1 big tablespoon or 2 small spoons. This definitely don't skip this. This always whenever you cook non-vegetarian chicken or anything, this really enhances the flavor and it really gives it a very good effect. And this is for the end. This is just some finely chopped cilantro, completely optional, but of course it adds to the look of the dish and also the taste of it. It's only going to be put at the end as garnish. So this is the other thing. Okay, we are going to prepare the spice powders now that we are going to use for the chicken. So what I'm going to add over here, the first thing I'm going to add some turmeric. I'm going to add roughly around, this is like a quarter teaspoon of it. I am going to use here red chili powder. This is the Kashmiri chili powder. This it's mild, but it gives a very good red color. So though we don't add any kind of food coloring, which I don't ever recommend, by the way. This gives a very good color naturally from this one. So I'm going to add a little bit here, generous. So since it's a curry, I'm going to add roughly around, this is I think one spoon what I have over here. Okay. The next thing I'm going to add is the cumin powder. The cumin powder, roughly around, again around half a spoon over here. What I have over here is the home ground cinnamon and clove powder. Now, a little bit goes a very long way in giving a very nice flavor. So, I highly recommend you to either make it at home and use this, or you can just use a little garam masala. Okay, so these are the masalas or the ground spice powder that we are going to use today. I'm not going to use any kind of a whole spices. So we're just going to add this when the chicken is cooking. Now, in case you don't have this, these are the basic Indian spices. You can skip this completely and use a store-bought chicken curry powder. That is also okay to use. Again, we want to keep this recipe really simple, so we don't want any complicated recipe. So that is also fine if you want to do it that way. Okay, now let's start the chicken curry process. So I roughly have around 2 tablespoons of oil over here. You can use any kind of oil, whatever that you use, the regular one. And we're just going to start off by putting the onions. So we are going to make sure that the onions are nice and brown. So another thing to notice is that whenever at every stage of the onion, sometimes when the onion is like a little more brown, it gives a nice, a different feel to the curry. It makes it a little bit, due to the caramelization, a little sweet. And some people do not like that. For which it is, it's okay to get them around half stage. That is, soon as the transparent color goes away, just to cook them. So you will learn that by experience. But then again, I like it to brown it a little for always the curries. It helps the curry to really, develop nicely into a nice sauce. So we're going to brown this nicely. Okay, now at this stage, you see that the onion has browned quite a bit. I mean, I'm going to let it brown a little more. But before that, we are going to add the ginger garlic paste to it. And it's important to add the ginger garlic at this stage. Otherwise, sometimes what happens is that if you try to add it towards the end, the raw taste of it does not go away. So try to add it at this phase. Okay, now you can see the nice brown color. It's a very good aromatic, a very good aroma coming now from the ginger garlic paste. But I have cooked enough for the dryness to go. So roughly I spent around 5 minutes sauteing the onions and around 1 minute with the ginger garlic paste. Now we're going to straight away put the chicken. I have sauteed the chicken here for a couple of seconds, so that all the onion and the garlic paste really mixes with it. You can see the chicken has a little color from the turmeric that I have added already. Now I have added salt to the chicken, so I'm not going to add salt. In the end, when I'm going to taste it, I may add a little salt. So please adjust accordingly. If you have used the chicken as is, you can add salt at this phase because it helps to release the water from the chicken quickly, and it will cook. Also, we are not going to add any water because the chicken on its own will release its own juices. So there will be a lot of water, and we're going to adjust this a little bit later. So for now, I'm going to reduce the flame a little bit, and I'm going to cover it and let this cook for roughly 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, make sure that it doesn't stick to the pan, and if needed, you can always add half a cup of water. Okay, now this has been cooking for roughly around 10 minutes. I'm going to lift the lid. I have been stirring it in between so that it doesn't get burnt to the bottom of the pan. Now you can see that it has already released some water on its own. So I'm pretty okay with this consistency. But yeah, if you need a runny liquid, this is a good time to add a little more water, maybe around half a cup of water. And it's better to add hot water instead of adding cold water. It will just fasten the process. Now at this phase, we are going to add our masalas or the spice powders what we mixed up earlier together. And as I said, if you do not have this, you can always just use a store bought chicken curry or any kind of a curry that you curry powder that you have. Just make sure a little bit of the garam masala or the cinnamon clove base is there, because that's like the basic spice which adds a lot of flavor. Now what we are going to do is to again give this a nice stir. You see the color is nicely developing. I'm only doing this when it is halfway done, because that helps the chicken cook faster. If you add the spice powders in the beginning, it does delay the cooking a lot. Chicken or even generally vegetables, it takes a longer time for it to start absorbing the cook the meat itself. So that's why I waited for a little time for this to happen. Now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to cover this and I'm going to just keep it for another 5 minutes like this. Okay, now this chicken has been another 5 minutes. I've let it set. You can see how nicely the color has developed. Now at this phase, I'm going to add the tomato paste. As I said, you can add chopped tomato, or if you want to try it a little different, you can just completely skip the tomatoes. That is good. But it's important to remember to add the tomatoes only in the end, because sometimes when you add the tomato in the beginning, the breast part especially, it becomes a little more chewy, because tomato is acidic by nature. So just make sure that if you're adding tomatoes, it's towards the end. Okay, I'm going to just put all of this. I'm going to give it a nice mix. Okay, so at this phase, the tomato paste also has cooked very well. So I roughly let it to sit around 10 minutes, 5 minutes maybe. And now I'm going to add the yogurt. So before this, if you this is the time to test for any spice or salt. For me, I felt the salt was a little less, so I added the salt before this, and then I'm going to add the yogurt. And then we're going to give this a nice mix, so that to make sure everything comes together. So this will help to get that nice gravy texture. It makes it a little bit creamy. And as we have made it a little sour, so that helps a nice, a little bit the tangy flavor also comes in, so that this enhances the flavor of the curry. So now at this phase, we are not going to cook it for a long time. It's almost done. So maybe another 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to again check. I may add a little bit of water. So if you needed a little more gravy, this is the time to add a little more water. So you check all of this, and this is almost like, just a minute and this is done.